Don't take him away. Play the elevator recording first. The handcuffs clicked around Terrence Hill's wrists beneath the Silver Brooks Meridian logo. His 11-year-old daughter, Maya, raised her cracked blue phone with both hands as Security Chief Frank Dalton lunged toward it. On the screen, a silver bracelet hovered above Terrence's open toolbox, and a woman's hand lowered the missing audit drive inside. That video proves nothing, Frank snapped. Terrence looked only at his frightened child. Tell them what you saw, sweetheart. Nothing more. 3 hours earlier, fluorescent light had washed the office lobby in a cold morning glow. The building smelled of floor polish, machine oil, and coffee drifting down from the executive floors. Terrence entered through the service door in his Navy maintenance shirt, his scratched metal toolbox in one hand and Maya's backpack in the other. Her school had scheduled a teacher workday, and with no one else to watch her, he had received permission to keep her beside the security desk until his emergency call was finished. Maya carried her phone for a class project called The People Who Keep Buildings Alive. She had already filmed Gloria James guiding a cleaning machine across the marble and Miguel Turner checking visitor badges without making anyone feel small. Stay behind the yellow line when I'm working, Terrence told her. Even when the shot looks better from the other side. I know, Dad. Knowing and doing are cousins, not twins. She smiled and began recording as he knelt beside the glass elevator's lower service panel. A soft metallic chime sounded from the shaft. Then, less than a second later, another tone answered it, lower, sharper, wrong. Terrence stopped with his screwdriver halfway to the latch. He had maintained those elevators for 6 years. The second sound belonged to an administrative override, but no authorized service request appeared on his handheld screen. Across the lobby, Frank stood near the security doors, speaking quietly into his radio. His suit was neat, his expression patient, almost fatherly. When he noticed Terrence watching, he lowered the radio and smiled. Routine systems check. Terrence did not challenge him. He simply wrote the time on a paper service slip and tucked the carbon copy beneath the foam lining of his toolbox. Then Gloria's cart caught against a raised strip of brass near the elevator entrance. Terrence set down his tools, lifted the front wheels over it, and adjusted the loose threshold screw so she would not have to fight it again. You're already behind, Gloria said. Then I'll be behind, he answered. You shouldn't have to hurt your shoulder because someone else is watching a clock. Maya filmed that too. At 10:17, Ashley Cole crossed the lobby in a cream blouse, a slim folder pressed to her chest. A silver bracelet flashed at her wrist as she entered elevator 4. Frank glanced toward the security cameras, then toward Terrence's toolbox resting beside the open service panel. Minutes later, alarms sounded on the executive floor. William Crane arrived first, composed and courteous, asking employees not to speculate. Helena Brooks followed, now dressed in the authority of the CEO. Terrence had not yet realized she was. Frank searched his toolbox in front of the gathering staff and lifted out a silver USB drive sealed between two gloved fingers. By the time Maya pushed through the crowd, the cuffs were already closing. Now, in the frozen lobby, her video played for 4 trembling seconds before Frank blocked the screen. Helena's eyes moved from the image of the silver bracelet to the woman standing directly behind her. Ashley was wearing the same one. Helena's gaze stayed on Ashley's silver bracelet for 1 second too long. Ashley noticed and folded her hands over the slim folder against her chest, hiding the metal beneath one palm. It is a common design, she said softly. The video does not show my face. She was in the elevator, Maya insisted. Maya. Terrence's voice was low, steady. Only say what you know. The lobby lights hummed above them, bleaching the warmth from every face. Behind the glass walls, the city moved in bright morning traffic, unaware that one man's life was being emptied onto a stone table. Frank took Terrence's toolbox from the evidence cart and released both latches. For transparency, he announced, we will document everything in the presence of the CEO and law enforcement. His tone was gentle, almost reassuring. Then he turned the box upside down. Steel wrenches struck the marble with sharp, scattered cracks. A roll of electrical tape bounced beneath a chair. A plastic bottle of headache medicine spun in a slow circle before falling on its side. Receipts, screws, a folded gray rag, and half a sandwich wrapped in wax paper slid across the polished surface. Last came a small family photograph. It landed face down near William Crane's black shoe. A murmur moved through the employees gathered behind the security line. Someone whispered that Terrence had been taking extra shifts. Another voice mentioned school bills. A third said maintenance workers knew every blind spot in the building. William bent slightly, studying the receipts without touching them. "No one is judging your circumstances, Mr. Hill," he said. "But financial pressure can make decent people take desperate steps." Terrence looked at the grocery receipt showing notebooks, pencils, and a pair of children's sneakers marked down 40%. He did not defend the balance in his checking account. He did not explain the overdue dental notice folded beneath it. Instead, he looked at the photograph lying near William's shoe. "Please pick that up with gloves." Frank paused. "It is not relevant evidence." "Then it should not be damaged." Miguel Turner pulled on a fresh pair of gloves and lifted the photograph carefully. Maya watched him turn it over. Her mother was smiling from a summer porch, one hand on Terrence's shoulder, the other resting on Maya's stroller. The edges had softened from years inside the toolbox. Maya stepped forward, but a security officer raised one arm across the line. "Stay back, please. That is my mom." "I understand." "Then do not put her in the evidence bag." The officer glanced toward Frank, uncertain. Terrence's jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. "Give it to my daughter." After a moment, Miguel crossed the line and placed the photograph in Maya's hands. Terrence thanked him. That quiet courtesy disturbed Helena more than anger would have. A guilty man, she thought, should have been bargaining, protesting, or searching for an escape. Terrence was watching to make sure his child did not lose one more thing. Frank lifted the sealed pouch containing the silver USB. A white evidence label had already been fixed across the top. "The missing device was recovered from the lower compartment of Mr. Hill's service bag," he said. "Combined with his access privileges and apparent financial strain, the risk is self-evident." "Risk is not guilt," Terrence replied. William gave him a sympathetic smile. "No, but responsible leadership cannot wait for certainty when employees and shareholders may be exposed." He turned toward Helena. "The safest course is immediate termination and a referral for unauthorized data access. We can review the deeper technical issues after the threat is contained." Maya clutched the photograph against her hoodie. "He did not steal anything." Ashley knelt slightly, keeping a careful distance from her. "I know this is frightening, Maya. The adults are trying to protect everyone." "Not everyone," Maya whispered. The words were not loud, but they crossed the lobby more cleanly than William's polished explanation. Helena looked toward Terrence. His navy work shirt was creased from kneeling beside machinery, and a dark line of grease remained beneath one thumbnail. He appeared exactly like the kind of man a boardroom might overlook. Yet he was the only person in the lobby asking that evidence be protected rather than interpreted in his favor. "The bag was sealed according to protocol," Frank said, sensing Helena's hesitation. Terrence studied the white label. "What time did you begin the search?" 10:26. "It is on the security record." "Yes." Terrence nodded toward the pouch. "Then why does the evidence label say 10:23? Frank's pleasant expression did not disappear, but something behind it hardened. Miguel looked at the wall clock, then at the pouch in Frank's hand. William stepped between them with the smooth patience of a man closing a difficult meeting. "A clerical mistake does not change what was found." He faced Helena and added, "We cannot let questions about handwriting distract us from the audit drive." The room went still. No one had opened the USB. No one had announced what it contained. Terrence raised his eyes to William. How did the CFO already know it was the audit drive? The question settled over the lobby without an answer. How did William Crane know the silver device was the audit drive before anyone had opened it? Helena looked from William's composed face to Terrence's cuffed hands, and something she had tried to dismiss returned with uncomfortable clarity. the sound of his voice in the dark elevator that morning, when he had no idea who she was. 3 hours earlier, Elevator 4 had stopped between the 11th and 12th floors with a violent shudder. The ceiling lights blinked out, leaving only the green emergency strip glowing above the doors. Helena had pressed the call button once, then again, but the speaker answered with static. Her breathing shortened. The glass walls that usually made the city look open and magnificent suddenly felt like the sides of a sealed box. "Can anyone hear me?" she called. A moment later, a man's voice came through the damaged intercom. "I hear you. My name is Terrence. Keep your eyes on the green light. The elevator is falling." "It is not falling. You cannot know that. I can hear the brake holding." His voice remained low and even. "Put one hand against the wall. Breathe in for 4 counts. Let it out for 6. Outside the shaft, Terrence set his toolbox down and studied the control panel. The air smelled of warm wiring and hydraulic oil. A second tone sounded beneath the normal fault alarm, short, metallic, and out of sequence. He removed the relay cover and found 2 fresh scratches around the screws, narrow marks left by a driver smaller than anything issued to the maintenance crew. Someone had opened the panel before him. Maya stood behind the yellow safety line, her cracked blue phone hanging at her side. "Is she okay?" she asked. "She is scared," Terrence said. "That is not the same as not being okay." He returned to the intercom. "Helena, I am going to open the service door. When you see light, do not move until I tell you." He wedged his navy work jacket over the sharp metal edge, climbed onto the platform, and forced the inner door apart by hand. Helena appeared in the narrow opening, pale and breathing hard. Terrence gave her the only bottle of water from his lunch bag before helping her step across the gap. He kept one hand beneath her elbow without gripping it, allowing her to move at her own pace. When both feet reached the hallway, she leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. She reached into her purse and pulled out folded bills. Terrence was already kneeling beside the exposed relay. "Keep it. You stayed past your inspection window. You needed help. Then let me pay you for your time." He looked up once. "You do not owe me for getting home safely." Helena slowly lowered the money. She noticed the worn name patch on his shirt, the grease beneath his thumbnail, and the wedding ring he still wore, although the skin around it showed years of loneliness. He did not ask her last name. He did not ask what floor she worked on. He simply wrote the failure time on a paper service ticket because the electronic system refused his upload. At the bottom, he recorded the unauthorized override and the relay code, 44A17. A wheel squeaked behind him. Gloria James was struggling to push her cleaning cart over a raised brass strip near the elevator entrance. Terrence placed the service ticket beneath the foam lining of his toolbox, crossed the hall, and lifted the front wheels over the obstruction. Then he tightened the loose strip so it would not catch again. "You are already late," Gloria told him. "Then I will be late. Management will blame you. Your shoulder should not pay for their schedule." Maya watched him from behind the yellow line. "Dad, your sandwich is getting warm." Terrence smiled faintly. "That is the risk sandwiches take." At the far end of the corridor, Ashley Cole appeared in a cream blouse, a slim folder pressed against her chest. Her silver bracelet caught the emergency light. "Ms. Brooks," she said, hurrying toward Helena. "I heard elevator 4 stopped." Terrence looked toward the silent alarm panel. The incident had not yet been transmitted to the executive network. Ashley seemed to realize what she had revealed and quickly added, "Frank mentioned a systems test earlier." She guided Helena away before Terrence could ask another question. He returned to his toolbox and found the lid slightly open, although he was certain he had latched it. Nothing appeared missing. Maya was still beside the wall, filming Gloria's repaired cart for her school project. Terrence closed the box, wiped a thin smear of unfamiliar perfume from the metal handle, and slipped the carbon copy of the service ticket deeper beneath the foam. Back in the lobby, Helena's eyes moved toward Terrence's overturned toolbox. Somewhere inside it, beneath the scattered tools and humiliation, lay the paper on which his quiet kindness had recorded the same code printed on the evidence bag, a 17. The code on Terrence's carbon copy service ticket matched the code printed on the evidence pouch, but Helena did not order the cuffs removed. A matching code proves the same system was involved, she said. It does not prove who used it. William Crane nodded with measured approval, as if she had restored reason to the room. Frank Dalton gathered the loose tools from the marble table and spoke in the patient tone of a man protecting everyone from confusion. Mr. Hill had access to the elevator, the relay panel, and the bag where the drive was found. His report may simply document his own interference. Terrence looked at the paper beneath Helena's hand. He did not argue. Then preserve the system, he said. All of it. 10 minutes later, they stood inside the security room, where rows of monitors painted the walls in cold blue light. The air smelled of warm plastic, stale coffee, and the faint metallic dust carried in from the elevator machinery. Maya sat near the door with Gloria beside her, holding the cracked phone against her knees. Frank had tried to exclude her because she was a minor, but Terrence asked only that she remain with a trusted adult and not be questioned without him. I was filming my school project, Maya explained when Ryan Scott arrived. I filmed Dad fixing things. Then I forgot to stop. Did anyone tell you what to record? Ryan asked. No, did. Your father watched the video before today. Maya shook her head. He told me not to waste my battery. Terrence almost smiled, but the red marks around his wrists tightened when he moved his hands. Ryan connected the phone to an isolated workstation and began creating a forensic copy. A thin progress bar crossed the screen while Frank stood behind him, close enough for his reflection to hover over the glass. The recording may be genuine, Frank said, but genuine footage can still be misleading. We do not see what happened before the woman approached the toolbox. That is true, Helena said. Her eyes remained on the screen rather than Terrence. She was not defending him. She was refusing to replace one assumption with another. The video opened. Maya's camera had been pointed low, catching the stainless steel wall, the edge of Terrence's toolbox, and the reflection of Ashley's cream blouse in the glass. Her silver bracelet flashed when her hand moved downward. Then came the first chime. A fraction of a second later, a lower tone answered it. Terrence leaned forward, stopping before the security line marked on the floor. Play that again. Frank exhaled softly. It is just the door signal. There are two signals. Old elevators echo. Terrence looked at Ryan. Can you separate the frequencies? Ryan replayed the sound through studio headphones, then enlarged the audio waveform. Two narrow peaks appeared on the monitor, close together but distinct. The first belonged to the cabin door. The second was sharper, shorter, almost buried beneath it. Administrative override confirmation, Terrence said. William folded his arms. You seem unusually familiar with security functions. I maintain the machine that makes the sound. Terrence's voice did not rise. Who authorized the override? The question slowed the room. Frank's hand settled on the back of Ryan's chair. Overrides occur during routine testing. The camera in that cabin has been unreliable for at least a week, so maintenance may have triggered the system without realizing it. Maya looked up from her phone. But Dad showed me the camera light this morning. Every adult turned toward her. She pointed to the video. In the reflection above Ashley's shoulder, a tiny green indicator glowed near the ceiling. He said green meant it was working because I wanted to film how cameras help keep people safe. Frank gave her a careful smile. A light does not guarantee recording, young lady. Terrence glanced at the security dashboard. What time did the camera fail its last test? Frank answered too quickly. 6:15. Ryan opened the automated diagnostic record. The room filled with the quiet tapping of keys and the distant vibration of elevator cables behind the wall. A green line appeared beside cabin 4. Camera self-test passed at 6:12 a.m. Helena stared at the 3-minute difference. Frank adjusted his cuff. I was estimating. Then let us stop estimating, she said. She ordered Ryan to preserve the video, access card records, elevator logs, and all camera data under a legal hold. Frank's expression stayed professional, but the hand on Ryan's chair tightened until his knuckles paled. Terrence looked again at the audio waveform. An override leaves a user record. Unless the system was damaged, William replied, or unless someone with maintenance access erased it. Terrence met his eyes. Then the deletion will leave a record too. Helena did not remove the cuffs, but she took one step away from William and one step closer to the monitors. Ryan began locking the files. The instant Frank's administrator privileges were suspended, a red warning flashed across the central screen. A second active session was attempting to erase exactly 7 minutes of elevator footage, and the device certificate belonged to the computer in the CFO's office. The red warning remained on the central monitor. 7 minutes of elevator footage were being erased from a device registered to the CFO's office. Ryan Scott moved first, disconnecting the archive from the live network and trapping the deletion attempt inside an isolated forensic copy. "Do not touch that keyboard," William Crane said. "You may be violating federal data controls." "He is preserving evidence," Helena replied. "Under my authority." The air conditioning seemed suddenly louder. Frank Dalton's hand slipped from the back of Ryan's chair, though his professional smile remained in place. "This could be a compromised certificate," William said. "A device name is not a person." Terrence nodded once. "He is right." Maya looked at him, startled. He could have used the warning to strike back, but he would not turn suspicion into proof simply because suspicion now pointed upward. "The system says where the request came from," he continued, "not who made it." Helena's eyes rested on him differently for the first time. "Then what can we prove?" Terrence looked toward the live image of Elevator 4. The sound. They moved back into the glass lobby under the supervision of a police officer and company counsel. Ryan carried a sealed diagnostic laptop. Terrence remained behind the yellow safety line, his wrists still cuffed in front of him. Morning light cut through the glass walls, making every fingerprint on the elevator doors visible. "Administrative override holds the doors open longer than a normal passenger command," Terrence explained. "About 0.8 of a second. It also creates code 44A17 in the internal service log." William glanced at Helena. "We are allowing a maintenance employee accused of system intrusion to design the test meant to clear him." "He will not touch the system," Helena said. "Ryan will run it." Terrence showed Ryan where to find the diagnostic function, then stepped farther back. He kept his hands where everyone could see them. "Use the temporary account created by the officer," he said. "Not mine. Not Frank's." Ryan entered the command. The elevator chimed. Its doors started to close, paused for a breathless fraction of a second, then slid together. On the laptop, a new line appeared. "Override confirmed. Code 44A17. The sound matched Maya's recording exactly. Conversation stopped. A chair someone had been dragging near the reception desk went still. The soft mechanical pull of the elevator cables filled the silence. Maya released the breath she had been holding and pressed the family photograph against her chest. "That proves an override occurred," Frank said carefully. "It does not prove who activated it." "Check the authentication source," Terrence replied. Ryan opened the authorization record. The override had been approved through a physical security token assigned to the chief of security. Frank's jaw tightened almost invisibly. "Those devices can be misplaced." "Was yours missing?" Helena asked. "Not that I recall." "Then where was it?" "In my office, most likely." Miguel Turner shifted near the security desk. "It was clipped to your belt that morning." Frank turned toward him. "You cannot possibly remember that." Miguel looked down at the carpet. "You made me bring you the spare radio. I saw the token beside your keys." William stepped forward before Frank could answer. "This is becoming unnecessarily accusatory. Helena, let internal counsel handle it privately before employees form conclusions that cannot be undone." Terrence noticed Ryan's face pale at the warning. William had already questioned his authority once. Now half the executive floor was watching him challenge two senior officers. "We can stop," Terrence said. Ryan looked up. "What?" If this test puts your job at risk, stop. I will not ask someone else to lose his living to save mine. Maya stared at her father's cuffed hands. Helena stared too. Then she placed her leather folder on the reception desk with deliberate care. Mr. Scott's position is protected for the duration of this investigation, she said. Continue. Frank's smile disappeared for less than a second. Ryan checked the security room access log. Frank's badge had entered the room 2 minutes before the override and had not left until after Ashley stepped out of elevator 4. The evidence did not yet prove that he had placed the USB or ordered the theft, but it proved his story about a routine malfunction was false. Helena turned to Frank. You told me no authorized user controlled that cabin. I may have initiated a systems check and forgotten the exact time. You remembered the camera failure to the minute, Terrence said quietly. But not opening the door for Ashley. Frank reached for another file. Then perhaps we should discuss Mr. Hill's own access. His badge entered the executive floor at the time the audit drive disappeared. A new log appeared on the monitor, showing Terrence Hill at the 12th floor service entrance. For one brief moment, the room tilted back against him. Then Ryan opened the basement camera from the same timestamp. Terrence was visible beside Gloria, kneeling in water as he repaired the building's failed pump. His badge had entered the executive floor while he was 6 stories below, holding a wrench in both hands. Someone had cloned his access card, and whoever did it had known exactly where Terrence would be when they used it. Someone had cloned Terrence Hill's access card, and whoever had done it had known exactly where he would be when they used it. The basement footage continued to play on the security room monitor. Terrence kneeling beside the failed pump, water darkening both knees of his work pants, Gloria holding a flashlight above the open housing. At the same timestamp, the access log placed his badge at the 12th floor service entrance. He cannot be in both places, Ryan Scott said. Then the badge record is false, Helena replied. Or the identity attached to it is. William Crane's voice remained smooth, but he loosened his tie by half an inch. The room had grown warmer under the blue monitors. Frank Dalton stood near the door with his arms folded, no longer offering explanations unless directly asked. Ryan traced the cloned credential backward through the system. It had been created from a maintenance scan performed the previous week, then activated for less than 4 minutes before disappearing from the Active Directory. The authorization originated inside the security network. That still does not tell us who carried the duplicate, William said.
No, Terence answered.
So do not accuse anyone yet. Maya looked at her father through the glass partition. The cuffs were still around his wrists. He had just been given a path to turn the room against Frank, yet he refused to walk it before the facts were ready. Helena noticed. So did Miguel Turner. There may be another camera, Miguel said quietly. Frank turned his head. All relevant cameras feed into this room. Not the old warehouse unit. Miguel kept his eyes on the floor. The one over the supply cage. It was never moved. Onto the new network because the wiring was too old. Frank's expression barely changed. That camera has not been maintained in years. Terrence looked toward Ryan. It records locally. They found the storage drive in a locked cabinet beneath a layer of gray dust. Its fan whined when Ryan connected it, and the image that appeared was grainy, washed in the greenish light of the warehouse corridor. At 9:58 that morning, Ashley Cole entered carrying a slim anti-static pouch. Frank met her beside the supply cage. She handed him the pouch. He looked toward the hall, then slipped it inside his jacket.
No audio.
No clear view of the USB. But the timestamp matched the elevator override and came 12 minutes before Frank claimed to discover the drive in Terrence's toolbox. The printer beside Ryan stopped humming. For several seconds, no one spoke. The frozen image remained between them. Ashley's extended hand, Frank's open jacket, a small pouch suspended in the space where trust had once been. This proves contact, William said at last. Not conspiracy. Helena did not answer him. She asked Ryan to compare Terrence's paper service ticket with the electronic record. Terrence told them where the carbon copy was hidden beneath the toolbox lining. Miguel retrieved it under police supervision. The handwritten report described an unauthorized relay override and a cable running from the elevator control housing toward the audit server corridor. The electronic version carried Terrence's employee number but reduced the event to 3 words. Minor fault resolved. Who can edit a signed maintenance report? Helena asked. Ryan opened the revision history. The change had been made through an executive security exception 94 seconds after Terrence's upload failed. Frank looked toward William. It was a small movement, almost nothing, but Helena saw it reflected in the black glass of the monitor. Ryan followed the exception code into the financial system. It led to an emergency payment approved by William for a private security consultant called Northline Risk Solutions. The company's registered mailing address matched a commercial mailbox controlled by Frank. There were 7 payments over 18 months. Each followed a missing camera incident, an altered access report, or an employee search that produced no formal complaint because the worker had signed a confidential resolution. Gloria stepped closer to the screen. She recognized 2 dates. One was the morning Frank searched her locker after cleaning supplies vanished. The other belonged to a night custodian who had been dismissed for entering a restricted floor, even though his supervisor later admitted the schedule had been changed without telling him. Terrence could have used the moment to condemn them all. Instead, he turned to Miguel. You do not have to say more than you can prove.
Miguel swallowed.
Frank told me to skip the second witness when he sealed your toolbox. Did you see him place the drive? No. Then say exactly that. Miguel raised his eyes. Terrence was protecting the truth from exaggeration, even when exaggeration might have freed him faster. I saw the bag already labeled, Miguel said. I saw Frank carry it before the search began, and I stayed quiet because he called it procedure. A procedure that needs silence is usually protecting the wrong person, Terrence replied. William closed the financial window with a sharp click. This has moved beyond the scope of an internal theft inquiry. We should suspend all questioning until counsel can review the material privately. Why privately? Helena asked. To protect the company. From what? William hesitated. From unsupported assumptions about security contracts and audit backups. No one had told him the hidden cable reached the audit backup system. Helena slowly placed Terrence's paper service ticket beside the altered electronic copy. The 2 documents lay under the monitor light like opposing testimonies. William's phone vibrated against the table. He silenced it without looking down, then removed a sealed folder from his briefcase. Inside was an offer to reinstate Terrence, cover his legal expenses, and pay enough money to stabilize Maya's future, if he signed a confidentiality agreement before the investigation reached a formal conclusion. Terrence read the first page, then looked through. The glass at Gloria, Miguel, and the employees whose names filled the old confidential settlements. He closed the folder without touching the pen. The accusation happened in the lobby, he said. So did the handcuffs. Helena watched him push the agreement back toward William. There was now too much evidence, too many altered records, and too many quiet workers standing behind the same pattern for the truth to remain inside the security room. Terrence's voice stayed calm. If you want this fixed, open the doors. The glass atrium filled slowly, not with noise, but with the restrained unease of people who understood they had been summoned to witness something the company would have preferred to keep behind locked doors. Employees lined the marble floor beneath the Silver Brooks Meridian logo. Members of the board stood near the reception desk. Company counsel arranged folders in careful stacks, and 2 police officers waited beside the bank of glass elevators. Gloria James stood in the front row with a handwritten list of workers who had been searched without an independent witness. Miguel Turner remained beside her, his security uniform suddenly looking less like authority than a burden. Terrence entered last, still wearing his Navy maintenance shirt, his wrists marked by 2 dark red bands where the cuffs had pressed into his skin. Maya walked close enough that her shoulder brushed his arm. She held the cracked blue phone against her chest but did not look at the crowd. Terrence did not enter like a man expecting applause. He looked tired. His toolbox remained sealed on the evidence cart, and his family photograph was tucked safely inside Maya's backpack. Helena Brooks stood beneath the main display screen, close enough to change the course of the room, but she did not speak first. She had placed Ryan Scott and the police in control of the presentation system so no executive could alter what appeared. William Crane stepped forward with a folder in one hand and the calm expression of a man offering relief after an unfortunate misunderstanding. Before private personnel matters are displayed to hundreds of employees, he said, the company should understand that. Mr. Hill has been offered reinstatement, full legal coverage, and financial compensation. No one is attempting to silence him. We are attempting to prevent incomplete information from damaging innocent people. A few board members nodded. The explanation was clean, reasonable, almost generous. William opened the folder and placed the unsigned confidentiality agreement on the reception desk. The video on the child's phone does not show who instructed Ashley Cole. It does not prove Mr. Hill was unaware of the drive. And it has remained in the possession of his family long enough to be copied or altered. The balance of the room shifted. Whispers returned. Helena looked toward Terence, waiting to see whether humiliation would finally turn into anger. He rested one hand lightly on Maya's shoulder. The accusation was public, he said. The truth should not need a private room. William gave him a regretful smile. That sounds principled, Mr. Hill. But principle does not establish chain of custody. For a moment it seemed he had regained control. Frank Dalton stood near the rear doors with company counsel, suspended but not yet removed, his face composed. Ashley remained beside him, pale beneath the atrium lights, her silver bracelet hidden beneath her sleeve. Ryan connected the isolated evidence drive to the display system. He began with the image everyone already knew. Maya's video showing the silver bracelet above Terence's open toolbox and the audit drive descending into the service bag. William let it play without interruption. Incomplete, he said when the frame froze. Ryan then displayed the evidence pouch label marked 1023, followed by the lobby camera showing Frank beginning the official search at 1026. William replied that a security officer could prepare routine paperwork in advance during an urgent incident. The answer was plausible enough to keep uncertainty alive. Next came the elevator diagnostic, the two distinct chimes, the 0.8-second delay, and code 44A17. Beside it appeared Frank's physical token record and the access log showing him inside the security room when the override was activated. Frank spoke from the back. I initiated a safety check. That is not a crime. Helena's hand settled slowly on the leather folder before her. You previously said no authorized user controlled the cabin. Frank's eyes moved toward William. I was working from memory. Ryan brought up the cloned access badge, placing Terence on the executive floor, then divided the screen. On one side, the false badge record. On the other, basement footage showing Terence kneeling beside Gloria in standing water at the same minute. The whispering stopped again. None of this establishes that the phone recording was not modified later, William said. The family had motive to create context that favored Mr. Hill. Maya tightened her fingers around the phone. Terence bent slightly toward her. You do not have to answer him. I know, she whispered, but I did not change it. That is enough. Ryan looked toward Helena. The phone connected to the building's guest Wi-Fi at 10:08. Maya's school project application automatically uploaded the recording to the district server 18 minutes before the search began. A new timestamp appeared above the screen, verified by the school system and accessible through the teacher's account, not the Hill family's. William's expression remained still, but the corner of the confidentiality folder bent beneath his thumb. Ashley suddenly looked at Ryan. Did it capture the name? The words escaped before she could stop them. No one had said the additional audio contained a name. Helena turned toward her. Ashley lowered her eyes and murmured that she had only meant a voice. Ryan opened the untouched school cloud file. It was 3 seconds longer than the copy remaining on Maya's nearly full phone. The audio bar stretched across the main screen, ending in a section no one in the atrium had heard. Ryan placed his finger over play, and every face turned toward the speakers. Ryan pressed play. The atrium speakers crackled once, and Maya's school video resumed across the wall-sized screen. Ashley's silver bracelet flashed beneath the elevator light. Her hand opened Terence's service bag, lowered the audit drive inside, and withdrew. Then came the 3 seconds missing from the phone. Frank's voice sounded beyond the glass doors. Hill filed the relay report. Ashley answered, barely above a whisper. Crane wants his access killed before 2. No one moved. Ryan froze the recording on Ashley's hand above the toolbox, then divided the screen into 6 panels. The school server timestamp showed the file had uploaded 18 minutes before Terrence was searched. The elevator log showed Frank's physical token opening the cabin for Ashley. The basement camera showed Terrence kneeling beside Gloria at the exact moment his cloned badge entered the executive floor. The warehouse footage showed Ashley handing Frank the anti-static pouch. Terrence's carbon copy service ticket showed the hidden cable he had discovered. The electronic record beside it showed someone had removed that warning 94 seconds later. William Crane's voice emerged dry and thin. Those records are circumstantial. They do not establish executive direction. Ryan said nothing. He opened the final timeline. An email from William's authenticated account appeared beneath the company logo. Remove Hill before the audit room opens. Revoke access. Use the security exception. The message had been sent within the same minute as the elevator override. Below it sat the payment approval for Northline Risk Solutions, the shell company tied to Frank's mailbox. 7 payments. 7 missing camera incidents. 7 workers quietly searched, dismissed, or paid to sign confidentiality agreements. William reached for the folder on the reception desk, but his fingers missed its edge. His pen struck the marble and rolled until it stopped beside Terrence's discarded handcuff key. Ashley and Frank acted outside their authority, he said. Ashley looked toward him. Something changed in her face. Not innocence, but the recognition that the man she had protected had already begun abandoning her. I want counsel, she said, and I will cooperate. Frank's shoulders remained square, though a pulse beat visibly beneath his jaw. A security investigation sometimes requires discretion. Miguel stepped forward. Not pre-written evidence labels. Gloria lifted the list in her hand. Not searches with no witness. The workers behind her did not shout. They simply stopped looking at the floor. Helena stood beneath the screen, the blue light flattening every trace of authority from her face until only responsibility remained. Mr. Scott, preserve every file and transfer forensic copies to law enforcement and the independent audit committee. She turned toward the officers. William Crane, Frank Dalton, and Ashley Cole are suspended effective immediately. Their credentials are revoked. No company employee is to access, alter, or remove any record connected to this investigation. Miguel approached Terrence with the key. The lock opened with a small metallic click. In the vast atrium, it sounded louder than the accusation had. Maya released a shaking breath and slipped her hand into her father's. Terrence rubbed one wrist once, then lowered both hands. He did not look at William. He did not smile. Helena stepped toward him. Mr. Hill, I was wrong. Terrence looked past her toward Gloria, Miguel, and the workers whose names filled the handwritten list. Start by listening to them. Helena's eyes followed his. I will. Not later. Not privately. His voice stayed quiet. The same room heard what you called me. Helena turned back to the crowd. Terrence Hill did not steal the audit drive. The evidence against him was manufactured. I authorized action before the facts were tested, and that failure belongs to me. The air conditioning whispered through the ceiling vents. An elevator bell sounded behind the glass. Somewhere near the board members, a sheet of paper slid from someone's folder and landed softly on the floor. No one bent to retrieve it. William stood beneath the timeline of his own decisions, unable to find a sentence that the evidence had not already answered. Helena faced Terrence again. What do you want us to do first? He raised his wrists, where the cuffs had left 2 dark red bands. Take the people you searched and put them where the executives are standing. Then let them speak without needing permission. The room remained silent. Not the silence of fear, but the silence that comes when power realizes it has been seen clearly. Terrence squeezed Maya's hand, and she leaned against his arm. The truth had returned his freedom. What he chose to demand next would decide whether it restored anyone else's dignity. The crowd did not break into applause when the screen went dark. People left the glass atrium slowly, carrying the silence with them as police officers collected devices, sealed records, and escorted William Crane, Frank Dalton, and Ashley Cole away from the executive floor for formal questioning. 1 week later, Helena Brooks returned to the same place beneath the Silver Company logo, but this time the workers in maintenance shirts, cleaning uniforms, and security jackets stood in the front row. William had been removed by the board and referred to federal investigators. Frank had been terminated and placed under investigation for evidence tampering and unauthorized searches. Ashley, represented by counsel, had agreed to cooperate, but cooperation would not erase her responsibility. Helena read the findings without hiding behind legal language. Terence Hill had been falsely accused. The evidence against him had been manufactured. His personnel record had been corrected, his suspension removed, and every dollar of lost wages and legal expense restored. When she finished, no one clapped. The people who had watched him handcuffed simply looked at him as if learning his name for the first time. Terence stood beside Maya in his clean navy maintenance shirt. The red marks had faded from his wrists, though Maya still glanced at them whenever she thought he was not looking. Helena offered him a senior operations title, a private office, and a salary far beyond anything he had earned before. Terence listened, then looked toward Gloria James and the folded list she still carried. "I know how to keep this building running," he said. "That does not mean I should become decoration for a press release." He agreed to return as a maintenance technician and serve on a new worker safety council only after Helena accepted his conditions. Hourly employees would elect their own representatives. Searches would require written cause and an independent witness. Whistleblowers would be protected from retaliation, and no single executive could delete security records. Gloria was elected by the workers, not appointed by management. Miguel received written protection for his testimony. Ryan was placed in charge of a dual authorization archive that reported to an independent committee rather than the CEO alone. Helena accepted every condition. Then she stepped down from direct oversight of security until the reforms could be reviewed by outside counsel. "I cannot undo the cuffs," she told Terence. "No," he said, "but you can make sure the next worker is not wearing them before anyone checks the facts." He did not ask her to suffer as he had suffered. He did not request that William be humiliated in the lobby or that Ashley's face remain frozen on the company screen. He asked only that the evidence go where the law required and that the people harmed by the old system be given a safe way to speak. Helena then knelt in front of Maya, keeping enough distance that the girl could choose whether to step closer. "You should never have had to make adults listen," she said. "That was our job." Maya held her cracked blue phone against her sweater. "Will you listen next time?" "Before the handcuffs," Helena answered. "Before the accusation." Maya nodded once. It was not forgiveness, but it was the beginning of safety. Near sunset, Miguel returned Terence's metal toolbox. Every wrench had been cleaned and placed back in its proper slot. The family photograph had been pressed flat beneath a clear protective sleeve. On top rested the carbon copy service ticket marked 44, a 17. No longer a scrap hidden beneath foam, but part of the official record that had exposed the truth. Maya slipped a folded note beside it. Terence opened it and read the uneven pencil letters. "You stayed kind when they were wrong." He closed the lid carefully. The toolbox no longer looked like proof of poverty or opportunity for suspicion. It looked like the life of a man who repaired what others ignored. Terence and Maya walked toward elevator 4. Helena reached for the door, but when Gloria approached with her cleaning cart, the CEO stepped aside and held it open for her first. No one announced the gesture. No camera recorded it. The wheels crossed the repaired brass threshold without catching. Inside the elevator, Maya leaned against her father's arm. "Are you glad everyone knows you are good?" she asked. Terence placed his hand on her shoulder as the city turned gold beyond the glass. "You knew," he said. "That kept me standing." The doors closed softly, and the lobby fell quiet one final time. Not because power had frightened anyone into silence, but because everyone understood that dignity had never left the man they failed to see. It had simply waited beside an old toolbox until truth opened the door.